Yara's parched tongue scrapes against the roof of her mouth as she collapses onto the scorching sand. The Norcadian female's eyes, once vibrant, now dull with resignation, gaze up at the merciless twin suns beating down on the desert planet. Her species teeters on the brink of extinction, victims of a decades-long drought that has turned their once lush world into an unforgiving wasteland. The sound of unfamiliar engines pierces the oppressive silence. A sleek spacecraft touches down nearby, kicking up a swirl of sand. The hatch opens, and out steps Billy Morgan, leading a team of human explorers. Their mission, to scout potential colonization sites. But as Billy's eyes lock onto Yara's prone form, his xenobiologist training kicks in, recognizing the telltale signs of extreme dehydration in the alien's physiology. Billy rushes to Yara's side, his mind racing. He knows the Norcadians require vast quantities of liquid to survive, their unique biology adapted to extract nutrients and hydration from various fluids. He also knows their limited water supplies won't be enough to save her. As Yara's chest heaves with labored breaths, Billy makes a decision that will change the course of human-Norcadian relations forever. He recalls his research on Norcadian physiology and realizes there's only one option left, one that violates every interspecies contact protocol in the book. "I can save her," Billy announces to his stunned crew, "but you're not going to like how." He begins to undo his protective suit, ignoring the protests of his team. "Norcadians can process nutrients from any fluid," he explains hurriedly. "My breeding material. It's high in water content and essential nutrients. It might be enough to keep her alive." The tension among the human crew is palpable. Some turn away in disgust, others argue vehemently against this unprecedented intervention. But Billy stands firm, knowing that this moment could determine the fate of not just Yara, but potentially the entire Norcadian species. As Billy approaches Yara with his unconventional solution, the consequences of his actions loom large. If successful, Earth could gain a powerful alien ally. If it fails, or if his superiors deem his actions too reckless, he could face court-martial or worse, trigger an interstellar conflict. Yara's eyes flutter open, focusing on the strange alien hovering above her. She sees the determination in Billy's face, sensing that this bizarre creature might be her last hope for survival. With trembling hands, Billy prepares to administer his unorthodox treatment, fully aware that this single act could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The desert wind howls around them, carrying the weight of two species' futures on its scorching breeze. As Billy takes a deep breath, steeling himself for what comes next, the fate of human-Norcadian relations hangs in the balance, suspended in this moment of desperation and daring on the unforgiving sands of a dying world. Billy's fingers trembled as he approached Yara, his heart pounding with a mixture of drive and trepidation. The desert wind whipped around them, carrying grains of sand that stung his exposed skin. He knelt beside the prone Norcadian, her chest barely rising with each shallow breath. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, positioning himself carefully. As Billy administered his unorthodox treatment, his team watched in stunned silence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez hovered nearby, her medical scanner at the ready. The air was thick with tension as they all held their breath, waiting to see if this unprecedented intervention would have any effect. Seconds ticked by, feeling like an eternity. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, Yara's skin began to change. The dry, cracked surface smoothed out, regaining a hint of its natural sheen. Her breathing deepened, becoming more regular. "It's working," Dr. Rodriguez whispered, her eyes fixed on the medical scanner. "Her vital signs are stabilizing." Billy exhaled sharply, relief washing over him, but their respite was short-lived. As Yara's condition continued to improve, her skin began to shift through a kaleidoscope of colors, finally settling on a vibrant, iridescent blue that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "What's happening?" Captain Hawthorne demanded, his voice tight with concern. Dr. Rodriguez frowned at her scanner, her fingers flying over the controls. "Her cellular structure is changing. It's integrating the human DNA at an unprecedented rate." Yara's eyes fluttered open, locking onto Billy's face. In that moment, something passed between them, a connection forged in the crucible of survival. Billy found himself unable to look away, mesmerized by the alien beauty of her transformed appearance. "Thank you," Yara said, her voice barely above a whisper. The words were in perfect English, startling the human team. You can speak our language?" Billy asked, helping her to sit up. Yara nodded, her iridescent skin shimmering with the movement. "Your genetic material, it's done more than save my life. It's changing me." Captain Hawthorne stepped forward, his expression a mask of professional concern. "We need to report this immediately. The implications are staggering." He turned to their communications specialist. "Establish a secure link with the Interstellar Relations Bureau. Now." As the team scrambled to follow orders, Billy helped Yara to her feet. She swayed slightly, leaning against him for support. The contact sent a jolt through Billy's body, intensifying the strange connection he felt towards her. "My people," Yara said, her voice growing stronger. "We've searched for so long for a solution to our hydration problem. This could be the answer we've been seeking." Dr. Rodriguez approached, her scanner still humming. "Your physiology has adapted to process human fluids with remarkable efficiency. If we can replicate this process—" Her words were cut off by a sudden high-pitched whine. The team looked up to see a sleek alien craft descending from the sky, its design unlike anything in the human fleet. "Norcadian scout ship," Yara explained, her eyes wide. "They must have detected your landing." Captain Hawthorne cursed under his breath. So much for easing into first contact. He began barking orders, preparing the team for the impending encounter. As the Norcadian ship touched down, kicking up a cloud of sand, Billy felt Yara's hand slip into his. He looked at her, seeing a mixture of hope and apprehension in her alien eyes. "Whatever happens next," she said softly, "know that you've given my people a chance at survival. We are forever in your debt." The Norcadian ship's hatch opened with a hiss, revealing silhouettes of alien figures. As they emerged into the harsh sunlight, Billy squeezed Yara's hand, bracing himself for whatever came next. The fate of two species now rested on the outcome of this unexpected encounter, with Billy and Yara standing at the crossroads of history. The Norcadian ship's hatch opened with a hiss, revealing the silhouettes of alien figures. As they emerged into the harsh sunlight, Billy squeezed Yara's hand, bracing himself for the encounter that would shape the future of both their species. Captain Hawthorne stepped forward, his posture straight and professional. "Prepare for first contact," he ordered his team, who quickly formed a welcoming line. Billy and Yara took their place at the front, a living symbol of the unexpected alliance between humans and Norcadians. The alien delegation approached, led by a tall, imposing figure with silvery skin and piercing eyes. His gaze swept over the human team before locking onto Yara, his expression a mixture of shock and fascination. "I am Commander Zax," he announced in a deep, resonant voice. "Explain the condition of this female immediately." Billy swallowed hard, acutely aware of the weight of the moment. He stepped forward, still supporting Yara. "Sir, I'm Billy Morgan, xenobiologist with the human expedition. We found Yara near death from dehydration. I took emergency measures to save her life." As Billy recounted the events, carefully explaining the physiological basis for his actions, the Norcadian officials listened intently. Their eyes darted between Billy and Yara, taking in her transformed appearance with growing interest. Commander Zax's brow furrowed. "You claim your genetic material caused these changes?" He gestured to Yara's shimmering, iridescent skin. "Yes, sir," Billy confirmed. "It appears to have integrated with her cellular structure, increasing her ability to retain and process fluids." A murmur rippled through the Norcadian delegation. Commander Zax stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "We require a demonstration of this process." Billy glanced at Captain Hawthorne, who gave a reluctant nod. Understanding the diplomatic importance of the moment, Billy took a deep breath and prepared to provide another sample of his genetic material to Yara. Under the scrutiny of both human and Norcadian observers, Billy administered the treatment. The effect was immediate and visible. Yara's skin pulsed with renewed vitality, the iridescent blue deepening to a rich, vibrant hue. Her posture straightened, strength visibly flowing into her limbs. The Norcadian officials broke into excited chatter. their previous reserve forgotten. Commander Zax raised a hand, silencing them. He turned to Captain Hawthorne, his expression intense. "This development could be the key to saving our species," he said. "I propose an alliance between our peoples, a joint research initiative to study and replicate these effects." Captain Hawthorne's eyes widened slightly, the only outward sign of his surprise. "Commander Zax, while I'm authorized to establish preliminary diplomatic relations, an agreement of this magnitude requires approval from my government." Zax nodded, his expression shrewd. "Understood. However, time is of the essence for my people. As a show of good faith, I request that the human Billy Morgan and Yara accompany us back to our homeworld. They can begin preliminary studies while we await your government's decision." The captain paused, weighing the potential risks and benefits. Finally, he nodded. "Agreed, on the condition that they remain under the protection of your government and are returned safely upon request." As the two leaders hammered out the details, Dr. Elena Rodriguez pulled Billy aside. Her face was etched with concern. "Billy, we have no idea what the long-term effects of this could be. Continued exposure to human DNA could lead to unforeseen mutations or health complications for Yara and potentially her entire species." Billy nodded, his expression grave. "I understand the risks, Elena. That's why I need to go with them. I can monitor Yara's condition and ensure any use of human genetic material is done ethically." As preparations for departure began, Captain Hawthorne approached Billy. His voice was low, meant for Billy's ears only. "Morgan, while you're there, gather as much intelligence as you can about their technology and society. This alliance could have significant strategic value for Earth." Billy nodded, the weight of his new responsibilities settling on his shoulders. He was no longer just a xenobiologist, but a diplomat and spy, carrying the hopes of two species. The Norcadian scout ship hummed to life, its engines kicking up swirls of sand. Billy and Yara stood at the entrance, looking back at the human team. Dr. Rodriguez gave a small wave, her face a mixture of scientific curiosity and worry. Captain Hawthorne stood tall, his expression unreadable as he watched his crew member embark on this unprecedented mission. As the ship's hatch began to close, Billy felt Yara's hand slip into his. He looked down at her, seeing a mixture of gratitude, hope, and something deeper in her alien eyes. The connection between them, forged in desperation and sealed with his DNA, pulsed with an intensity that both thrilled and terrified him. The ship lifted off, quickly becoming a speck in the sky. On the ground, Captain Hawthorne turned to his team. "All right, people, let's set up a more permanent base camp. I have a feeling this dust ball is about to become the center of a new era in interstellar relations." Aboard the Norcadian ship, Billy and Yara were led to a small, sterile chamber. Alien medical officers approached, their eyes fixed on Billy with unconcealed fascination. Yara stepped between them, her voice firm as she addressed the Norcadian crew in their own language. "I will oversee all procedures," she insisted. "The human Billy Morgan is under my protection." As the ship hurtled through space towards the Norcadian homeworld, Billy found himself at the center of a flurry of preliminary tests and examinations. Each procedure, each question from the curious Norcadian scientists, drove home the reality of his situation. He had become the key to not only Yara's survival, but potentially the salvation of an entire alien species. Lying on an examination table, surrounded by softly beeping alien equipment, Billy caught Yara's eye. She smiled, a gesture she must have learned from him, and he felt a surge of emotion that transcended species. As the Norcadian sun grew larger in the ship's viewports, Billy steeled himself for the challenges ahead, knowing that the fate of two civilizations now rested in part on his shoulders. As the Norcadian ship streaked through space, Billy's mind raced with the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead. The journey passed in a blur of medical examinations and debriefings. Billy found himself constantly surrounded by curious Norcadian scientists, their silvery skin glinting under the ship's artificial lights as they peppered him with questions about human physiology. Yara remained by his side, her presence a comforting constant in this alien environment. As they approached the Norcadian homeworld, Billy's breath caught in his throat. The planet loomed before them, a sphere of muted oranges and browns. From orbit, he could see vast stretches of desert punctuated by sprawling urban centers, their architecture unlike anything he'd seen on Earth. The ship touched down with a gentle thud, and Billy felt a twinge of anxiety as the hatch opened. He stepped out onto Norcadian soil, the dry air immediately parching his throat. Yara squeezed his hand, offering silent support as they were led towards an imposing structure in the distance. "Welcome to the Central Research Facility," announced a tall Norcadian with sharp features and piercing green eyes. "I am Dr. Krell, lead scientist of our Xenobiology division." Billy nodded, taking in the sprawling complex of interconnected domes that seemed to stretch endlessly across the arid landscape. "It's an honor to be here, Dr. Krell. I'm eager to assist in any way I can." Dr. Krell's expression turned grave. "The situation is dire, Mr. Morgan. Our world is dying. Water, once plentiful, has become our most precious resource. Our population dwindles daily as more succumb to dehydration." As they walked through the facility's sterile corridors, Billy observed Norcadian scientists working feverishly at various stations. The air hummed with tension and desperation. "We'll begin with a series of experiments," Dr. Krell explained, leading them into a large laboratory. "Mr. Morgan, we'll need samples of your genetic material. Yara, you'll undergo extensive examinations to document the changes in your physiology." Over the next several days, Billy found himself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. He voluntarily provided samples for testing, watching as Norcadian scientists pored over the results with increasing excitement. Yara underwent a battery of tests, her transformed body a source of constant fascination for the researchers. During a rare moment of respite, Billy and Yara found themselves alone in a small observation room, overlooking the facility's central atrium. Yara's iridescent skin shimmered in the dim light as she turned to face him. "Tell me about your world, Billy," she said softly. "I've heard so many stories about Earth's abundance of water. Is it true?" Billy smiled, recalling memories of his home. "It is. We have vast oceans, flowing rivers, and lakes so large you can't see the other side. Rain falls from the sky, nourishing lush forests and grasslands." Yara's eyes widened with wonder. "It sounds like paradise. My childhood home was once beautiful too, before the great drought. Now it's nothing but sand and rock." As they continued to share stories, Billy felt the connection between them deepening. He found himself drawn to Yara's resilience and curiosity, while she seemed fascinated by his tales of Earth's diverse ecosystems. Their moment of peace was interrupted by the arrival of Commander Zax, his face set in a grim expression. "Dr. Krell has made significant progress. The High Council requests your presence immediately." In the council chambers, Billy stood before a semicircle of stern-faced Norcadian officials. Dr. Krell presented his findings, his voice filled with almost unchecked excitement. "The human genetic material has shown remarkable results," he announced. "Not only does it improve our ability to retain and process water, but it also enhances overall physical capabilities. Strength, stamina, regeneration, all have shown significant improvement in our test subjects." A murmur rippled through the council. Commander Zax stepped forward, his eyes gleaming. "Esteemed council members, I propose we initiate a breeding program between humans and Norcadians. We can create a new generation of hybrids capable of thriving in our harsh environment." Billy's stomach dropped at the suggestion. He glanced at Yara, whose expression mirrored his own unease. The council erupted into heated debate, with some members voicing concern about genetic purity, while others saw it as their only hope for survival. As the arguments raged on, Billy noticed a group of Norcadian military officials huddled in the corner, speaking in hushed tones. Their eyes darted between him and Yara, filled with a calculating interest that sent a chill down his spine. Unnoticed by the others, a shadowy figure slipped out of the chamber. The Rizian spy had heard enough. Its masters would be very interested in this development. Billy's mind raced as he realized the full implications of his presence on this world. What had started as a mission of mercy now teetered on the brink of something far more complex and potentially dangerous. As the council continued its heated debate, he knew that the decisions made in this room would shape the future of both their species, for better or worse. Worse, as the council's debate reached a fever pitch, Billy felt a sudden sharp pain in his neck. His vision blurred, and he stumbled, reaching out to steady himself against the wall. Yara's concerned face swam before him, her lips moving, but he couldn't make out the words. The world tilted and darkness engulfed him. When Billy regained consciousness, he found himself strapped to a cold metal table in a stark, unfamiliar room. The harsh glare of bright lights above him made him squint. He tried to move, but his limbs felt heavy and unresponsive. "Subject is awake," a clinical voice announced. A face loomed over him. Counselor Vex, his features twisted into a triumphant smirk. "Mr. Morgan, how kind of you to join us. Your contribution to the future of Norcadia is most appreciated." Billy's mouth felt dry, his tongue thick and uncooperative. What are you doing?" he managed to croak. Vex's eyes glittered with a fervent light. "Securing our species' survival, of course. Your genetic material is far too valuable to leave in the hands of short-sighted bureaucrats." As Vex spoke, Billy became aware of a sharp, persistent pain in his arm. He turned his head with effort and saw a tube connected to his vein, dark red blood flowing through it. "Don't worry," Vex said, following his gaze. "We'll be taking samples of everything. It's for the greater good, you understand." Panic surged through Billy as the full implications of his situation became clear. He was a prisoner, a living lab rat for Vex's twisted ambitions. Meanwhile, in another part of the facility, Yara paced restlessly in her quarters. Something felt wrong. Billy had been gone for hours, supposedly for more tests, but her instincts screamed that this was a lie. She pressed her hand against the door, surprised to find it locked. "Billy?" she called out. No response. Yara closed her eyes, focusing on the enhanced senses she'd gained from Billy's DNA. A familiar scent caught her attention. Billy's scent, but tinged with fear and sedatives. Her eyes snapped open, filled with purpose. She placed her hands on the door, feeling the energy coursing through her body. With a grunt of effort, she pushed. The door, designed to withstand Norcadian strength, buckled under her enhanced power. Alarms blared as Yara stepped into the corridor. She ignored them, following Billy's scent trail with single-minded focus. Dr. Krell, alerted by the alarms, rushed to investigate. He found Yara standing over two unconscious guards, her chest heaving with exertion. "Yara, what's happening?" he asked, his voice tinged with concern. "They've taken Billy," she replied, her eyes fierce. "Vex has him." Dr. Krell's face paled. "This is madness. It will spark a war with the humans." "Then help me find him," Yara pleaded. After a moment's hesitation, Dr. Krell nodded. "Follow me. I think I know where they might have taken him." As they made their way through the facility's winding corridors, evading security patrols, a tense atmosphere gripped the planet. News of Billy's abduction spread like wildfire, sparking outrage among many Norcadians who saw humans as their last hope for survival. In the secret military installation, scientists worked feverishly under Vex's watchful eye. They extracted samples from the unconscious Billy, cataloging and analyzing every drop of blood, every strand of hair. "Counselor," one of the scientists called out, excitement in his voice. "We've successfully created the first hybrid embryo." Vex's eyes gleamed as he gazed at the holographic display showing the developing embryo. "Excellent. Prepare for mass production. This is the dawn of a new era for Norcadia." Unbeknownst to Vex, his triumph would be short-lived. Commander Zax, having witnessed the escalating situation with growing alarm, made a fateful decision. He activated a secure channel, transmitting an encoded message to Captain Hawthorne on Earth. On the bridge of his ship, Hawthorne received the transmission. His face grew grim as he decrypted the message, revealing the dire situation on Norcadia. "Prepare for immediate departure," he ordered his crew. "And alert Earth Command. We may be looking at a potential interstellar incident." As Earth mobilized its response, Yara and Dr. Krell closed in on Billy's location. They crouched behind a row of storage containers, observing the heavily guarded entrance to the secret lab. "How do we get past them?" Dr. Krell whispered. Yara's eyes narrowed, assessing the situation. "Leave that to me," she said, her voice filled with quiet confidence. She stepped out from their hiding place, her body tensed for action. The guards raised their weapons, but Yara moved with blinding speed. Before they could react, she was upon them, her enhanced strength making short work of their defenses. As the last guard fell unconscious, Dr. Krell emerged, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. "Remind me never to get on your bad side," he muttered. They breached the lab's security, fighting their way through surprised scientists and security personnel. Finally, they burst into the main chamber where Billy was held. Yara's heart clenched at the sight of Billy strapped to the table, pale and unconscious. She rushed to his side, quickly working to free him from his restraints. "Stop them!" Vex's voice rang out. He stood by a console, his hand hovering over a button. "One more step, and I'll delete all the research data. You'll doom our entire species." Dr. Krell stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "It's over, Vex. What you're doing is illegal and immoral. Stand down." As the standoff intensified, Billy stirred, his eyes fluttering open. He took in the scene before him, Yara's protective stance, Dr. Krell's resolute expression, and Vex's desperate anger. "The embryos," Billy croaked, his voice weak. "We can't leave them." Yara and Dr. Krell exchanged a look, the weight of the decision heavy upon them. The future of two species hung in the balance, dependent on their next move. Outside the facility, chaos reigned as protesters clashed with loyalist forces. The planet teetered on the brink of civil war, the long-simmering tensions finally boiling over. And high above the Norcadian atmosphere, Captain Hawthorne's ship dropped out of hyperspace, its crew prepared for any eventuality. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the destiny of both humanity and the Norcadians. Norcadians and their future. The tension in the room was palpable as Billy, Yara, and Dr. Krell faced off against Counselor Vex. Billy's mind raced, searching for a solution that could defuse the situation and address the larger crisis at hand. Suddenly, an idea struck him, one that could potentially solve both the water shortage and the political turmoil. "Wait," Billy said, his voice weak but determined. "I have a proposal." All eyes turned to him as he struggled to sit up on the table. Yara moved to support him, her touch gentle yet strong. "What if we could create a specialized algae strain using my genetic material?" Billy continued. "One that could rapidly purify and multiply your remaining water supply." Dr. Krell's eyes widened with interest. "Theoretically, it's possible, but the implementation would be complex." Vex scoffed. "Another human trick? We need real solutions, not more false promises." "It's not a trick," Billy insisted. "This could provide a sustainable water source without relying on continuous human genetic material. It's a win-win solution." As they debated the merits of Billy's proposal, alarms blared throughout the facility. Commander Zax burst into the room, his expression grave. "We have a situation," he announced. "An Earth-ship has entered orbit. They're demanding to speak with their ambassador." The room erupted into chaos. Vex shouted orders to his loyalists, while Dr. Krell tried to reason with him. In the commotion, Billy caught Yara's eye and nodded subtly towards the door. Taking advantage of the distraction, they slipped out of the lab and into the corridor. As they ran, Billy filled Yara in on his plan. "We need to contact the Earth-ship," he explained between breaths. "If we can get them to back our proposal, we might have a chance at preventing war." Yara nodded, her enhanced senses on high alert as they navigated the facility's maze-like corridors. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with a group of armed humans, led by a woman with lieutenant insignia. "Ambassador Morgan?" the woman asked, lowering her weapon. "I'm Lieutenant Sarah Chen. Captain Hawthorne sent us to extract you." Billy quickly explained the situation and his algae proposal. Chen listened intently, then activated her comm device. "Captain, this is Chen. We've made contact with the ambassador. You're going to want to hear this." As Billy outlined his plan to Captain Hawthorne, Yara kept watch. Her enhanced hearing picked up the sound of approaching footsteps. "We need to move," she whispered urgently. "Vex's forces are coming." Chen nodded, relaying the information to her team. "We have a secure location," she told Billy and Yara. "Commander Zax arranged it. We can continue discussions there." They moved swiftly through the facility, evading patrols and using Yara's heightened senses to avoid detection. Finally, they reached an abandoned underground bunker on the outskirts of the city. Inside, they found Commander Zax waiting with a group of moderate Norcadian officials. The atmosphere was tense as humans and Norcadians eyed each other warily. Billy stepped forward, his voice steady despite his fatigue. "We have a chance to end this crisis peacefully," he began, "but we need to work together." He explained his algae proposal in detail, with Dr. Krell adding scientific context. As he spoke, Billy could see the skepticism in the Norcadians' eyes slowly giving way to interest and hope. "It's an intriguing concept," one official admitted, "but how can we be sure it will work?" "We can demonstrate it right now," Yara interjected. She turned to Dr. Krell. "You have the necessary equipment here, don't you?" Dr. Krell nodded, moving to a nearby console. "I can set up a small-scale prototype. It won't be perfect, but it should prove the concept." As Dr. Krell worked, Billy and Captain Hawthorne discussed the broader implications via comlink. The Earth captain agreed to support the plan, recognizing its potential to prevent interstellar conflict. Suddenly, Yara tensed. Her eyes darted to a shadowy corner of the bunker. "We're not alone," she whispered. Before anyone could react, a group of lithe, shadowy figures emerged from hiding spots around the room. Their features were obscured by high-tech camouflage suits, but their aggressive stance was clear. "Rizian spies!" Commander Zax spat, reaching for his weapon. The bunker erupted into chaos as the Rizians attacked. Yara sprang into action, her enhanced abilities allowing her to move with incredible speed and strength. Lieutenant Chen and her team provided covering fire, their training evident in their coordinated movements. Billy ducked behind a console, his mind racing. They couldn't lose this opportunity for peace. As he watched Yara and Chen fight side by side, an idea struck him. "Everyone, stop!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the din of battle. "Look at what's happening here. Humans and Norcadians fighting together against a common threat. This is the future we could have." His words gave everyone pause. Even the Rizian spies hesitated, clearly not expecting this turn of events. Taking advantage of the lull, Commander Zax stepped forward. "He's right. This conflict benefits no one but our enemies. We need to broadcast Billy and Yara's demonstration to the entire planet. Let our people see the potential of this alliance for themselves." The Norcadian officials murmured in agreement, while the Rizian spies exchanged uncertain glances. Sensing the shift in the room, the lead Rizian agent signaled his team to retreat. They melted back into the shadows, leaving as silently as they had arrived. As the tension in the bunker eased, Billy turned to Dr. Krell. "Is the prototype ready?" Dr. Krell nodded, gesturing to a small tank filled with murky water. "We're prepared to begin the demonstration." Billy took a deep breath, looking at Yara. She met his gaze, understanding passing between them. This wasn't just a scientific demonstration. It was a symbol of the bond between their species, and potentially the key to lasting peace. As Commander Zax arranged for a planet-wide broadcast, Billy and Yara stepped up to the prototype tank. The fate of two worlds rested on what would happen next. As Billy and Yara added a small sample of the engineered algae to the murky water, the room fell silent. All eyes were fixed on the tank, watching intently for any sign of change. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then gradually, a faint shimmer appeared on the water's surface. The murky brown began to clear, revealing hints of blue beneath. Within minutes, the transformation was undeniable. The water had become crystal clear, with a healthy green tint from the rapidly multiplying algae. Gasps of amazement filled the room. Dr. Krell rushed forward, his instrument scanning the water furiously. "Incredible," he muttered. "The purification rate is off the charts. And the algae's growth? It's exponential." Commander Zax turned to the communication panel, his voice filled with awe-inspiring excitement. "Are we broadcasting?" A technician nodded, gesturing to the active feed. "Live to the entire planet, sir." Billy stepped forward, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "People of Norcadia, what you're witnessing is just the beginning. This algae strain, developed through the cooperation between our species, has the potential to solve your water crisis. But more than that, it represents a new era of partnership between humans and Norcadians." Yara joined him, her presence a testament to the strength of their alliance. "Together, We can face challenges that would overwhelm us alone. This is not just about water. It's about a shared future. As they spoke, reports began flooding in from across the planet. The broadcast had sparked a wave of hope and excitement. Protests were calming, and even some of the more hardline factions were calling for dialogue. In the days that followed, events moved at a whirlwind pace. The High Council, recognizing the potential of the Human-Norcadian alliance, convened an emergency session. After hours of intense debate, they reached a decision that would change the course of their world. Billy found himself standing before the council, still somewhat in disbelief at the rapid turn of events. The chief counselor's voice rang out in the chamber. "Ambassador Morgan, in light of your contributions and the potential of this new technology, we hereby appoint you as Chief Scientific Advisor for the planet-wide implementation of the algae solution." Billy nodded solemnly, the weight of the responsibility settling on his shoulders. "I'm honored, and I promise to do everything in my power to ensure the success of this project." The chief counselor turned to Yara. "And you, Yara, with your unique abilities and understanding of both our peoples, we name you as the official liaison between the human delegation and the Norcadian government." As Yara accepted her new role, Billy couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. They had come so far in such a short time. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Construction began on algae production facilities across the planet. Billy and Yara found themselves at the center of a rapidly evolving political landscape, working tirelessly to coordinate efforts between human and Norcadian teams. One evening, as they were reviewing plans for the latest facility, an urgent message came through from Dr. Krell. His face on the holographic display looked both excited and concerned. "Billy, Yara, you need to come to the lab immediately. It's about the hybrid embryos." They rushed to the research center, finding Dr. Krell pacing nervously in front of an incubation chamber. Inside, several tiny forms could be seen moving. "They're developing at an accelerated rate," Dr. Krell explained, his voice a mix of awe and worry. "We weren't prepared for this. The first batch, they're about to be born." As if on cue, one of the embryos began to move more vigorously. Within moments, a tiny hybrid infant emerged, its skin a mottled mix of human and Norcadian tones. Its eyes, when they opened, held an intelligence that seemed beyond that of a newborn. Billy and Yara watched in stunned silence as more hybrid infants were born. Each one displayed a unique blend of human and Norcadian traits, some with more pronounced characteristics of one species or the other. Dr. Krell's team worked quickly to care for the newborns, running a battery of tests. As the data began to come in, Dr. Krell's eyes widened. "This is remarkable," he said, gesturing to a display of vital signs. "Their adaptability to our environment is off the charts. They're even surpassing Yara's enhanced capabilities in some areas." Billy frowned, his mind racing with the implications. "We need to be careful here. This raises a lot of ethical questions. We can't rush into anything without fully understanding the consequences." Yara nodded in agreement, but her eyes were fixed on the hybrid infants. "They're beautiful," she whispered. "But you're right, Billy. This is bigger than we anticipated." As they discussed the next steps, an alert sounded. Commander Zax's face appeared on a nearby screen, his expression grim. "We have a situation," he announced. "We've detected increased Rizian activity near our system. Intelligence suggests they're planning to sabotage the algae facilities." Billy and Yara exchanged a look. The success of their alliance had brought new challenges, and it was clear that their work was just getting started. As they prepared to face this new threat, the hybrid infants cooed softly in their incubators, a living symbol of the complex future that lay ahead. As they contemplated their next steps, a priority message flashed on the communications panel. Billy activated it, revealing the stern face of Earth's Secretary of Interstellar Affairs. "Ambassador Morgan, your presence is urgently required back on Earth. The success of your mission has sparked complications." Billy's heart sank as he listened to the briefing. The Human-Norcadian alliance had sent ripples across the galactic community. Multiple alien species were now clamoring for similar partnerships with Earth, creating a diplomatic quagmire. He turned to Yara, conflict evident in his eyes. "I have to go back," he said softly. "But the work here isn't finished. The algae project, the hybrids." Yara nodded, understanding passing between them. "I'll stay," she replied. "Someone needs to oversee things here, and my abilities make me uniquely suited for it." The decision burdened immensely on them both. As they prepared for their separation, Dr. Krell approached with an intriguing proposal. "Before you leave, Ambassador, there's a procedure I'd like you both to consider," the Norcadian scientist explained. "We've developed a treatment that could enhance your genetic compatibility. It might allow for natural conception between your species." The implications were staggering. Billy and Yara agreed to undergo the procedure at the newly constructed Harmony Space Station, a neutral facility orbiting Norcadia. The medical bay hummed with advanced technology as Dr. Krell and his team administered the treatment. Billy felt a tingling sensation course through his body as the modified genes integrated into his system. Beside him, Yara's skin shimmered slightly, her hybrid physiology adapting to the changes. As they recovered, alarms blared throughout the station. Commander Zax's voice crackled over the intercom, tension evident in his tone. "We're under attack. A Rizian battle fleet has entered the system. They're targeting the algae facilities." Billy and Yara rushed to the command center, watching in horror as the Rizian ships launched their assault. Commander Zax coordinated with the human military advisors, orchestrating a desperate defense. "Go," Yara urged Billy. "Earth needs you. I can do more good here." With a heavy heart, Billy boarded a transport bound for Earth. As he watched Norcadia shrink in the view screen, he saw flashes of weapons fire illuminating the planet's atmosphere. The journey to Earth was tense, filled with encrypted reports of the escalating conflict. When Billy finally arrived, he found a world transformed. Alien embassies dotted the skyline of major cities. Protests raged in the streets, with opposing factions clashing over Earth's role in the galactic community. Billy dove into his work, leveraging his unique experience to navigate the complex web of alien politics. He proposed the creation of a standardized protocol for genetic exchange and hybridization, dubbing it the Galactic Gene Accord. As he worked tirelessly to build consensus among Earth's factions and alien delegations, reports from Norcadia provided a mix of hope and concern. Yara had joined the front lines of the conflict, her evolving abilities proving crucial in repelling the Rizian attacks. She could now interface directly with Norcadian technology, greatly enhancing their defensive capabilities. But the most startling news concerned the hybrid children. The stress of the conflict had triggered accelerated growth, and they now displayed cognitive abilities far beyond their years. The Norcadian society struggled to adapt to these advanced beings in their midst. Billy's efforts to establish the Galactic Gene Accord faced a major setback when a radical human supremacist group known as Pure Earth launched a series of violent attacks on alien embassies. The carefully constructed diplomatic balance teetered on the edge of collapse. In response, Billy proposed a bold plan, a galactic summit at the Harmony Space Station, away from the volatile situation on Earth. As preparations for this unprecedented meeting began, he found himself working around the clock, coordinating with alien representatives and Earth's diplomatic corps. The distance and their intense responsibilities strained Billy and Yara's relationship. Their communications became less frequent, filled with terse updates rather than the warmth they once shared. Meanwhile, the Rizians regrouped, changing tactics. Reports from Norcadia indicated they were now targeting the algae-treated water supplies with an engineered virus. The threat to undo all their progress added another layer of urgency to Billy's mission. As he finalized the guest list for the Harmony Summit, Billy received a troubling message from Dr. Krell. The rapid development of the hybrid children had taken an unexpected turn. Their advanced intellects were now paired with emerging psionic abilities, raising concerns about their place in society and the potential security risks they posed. Billy stared out the window of his office at the bustling alien quarter of Washington, D.C., the weight of multiple crises bearing down on him. The upcoming summit at Harmony Station represented their best hope for galactic stability, but the challenges seemed to multiply by the hour. He activated his secure communication link, hoping to reach Yara. As he waited for the connection, his mind raced with the countless issues demanding his attention. The Pure Earth threat, the Rizian conflict, the hybrid children's development, and the delicate balance of interspecies politics. The screen flickered to life, revealing Yara's face. She looked exhausted, her features etched with the strain of battle. Behind her, Billy could see the glow of energy weapons and the rapid movement of Norcadian defense forces. "Billy," Yara began, her voice tight with urgency, "we don't have much time. The Rizians have launched a new offensive, and—" The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Billy staring at a blank screen. The silence in his office was broken only by the distant sound of protesters outside, their chants a reminder of the challenges that lay ahead on Earth and beyond. The screen flickered back to life, Yara's face reappearing amidst static. "Billy, we're under heavy attack. The Rizians have breached our outer defenses. We need—" The transmission cut out again, leaving Billy feeling helpless and frustrated. He smacked his palm on the desk, the weight of their separation and the mounting crises bearing down on him. A priority alert flashed on his terminal, demanding his immediate attention. As he read through the report, his eyes widened in disbelief. The carefully curated guest list for the Harmony Summit had been compromised. Several notoriously aggressive alien species were now confirmed attendees, their inclusion threatening to derail the entire proceedings. Billy's mind raced as he pieced together the implications. This had to be the work of saboteurs, likely the same radical human supremacist group behind the embassy attacks. He activated his secure comm link, connecting with Earth's military command. "General Hayes, we have a situation," Billy said, his voice tense. "The summit's been compromised. We need to implement enhanced security measures immediately." As Billy coordinated with Earth's military to bolster the summit's defenses, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. On Norcadia, Yar and Dr. Krell had made a breakthrough in countering the Rizian virus, attacking the algae-treated water supplies. Their solution came from an unexpected source: the rapidly maturing hybrid children. Billy watched the recorded footage with a mix of awe and concern as Yara explained their discovery. The hybrid children possessed a unique enzyme in their saliva that neutralized the Rizian virus on contact. It was a testament to the unforeseen benefits of human-Norcadian genetic combination, but it also highlighted the accelerated development of these young hybrids. As news of this development spread, the Rizians launched a desperate attack on the Harmony space station. Billy watched in horror as the massive Rizian warships closed in on the symbol of interspecies cooperation. But Yara had anticipated this move. Leading a team of hybrid children, she orchestrated a defense that left Billy speechless. The young hybrids interfaced directly with Norcadian technology, their enhanced abilities allowing them to outmaneuver the Rizian assault with unprecedented skill. The battle footage showed Yara at the helm of a Norcadian cruiser, her movements fluid and precise as she directed the hybrid children. Energy weapons flashed across the void of space, Rizian ships exploding in brilliant bursts of light. The hybrids' teamwork was flawless, their enhanced intellects and newly emerged psionic abilities giving them a decisive edge. As the Rizian fleet retreated, leaving the Harmony station intact, Billy felt a surge of pride mixed with unease. The hybrid children had proven themselves beyond all expectations, but their rapid advancement raised new questions and concerns. With the immediate threat repelled, Billy turned his attention back to the impending summit. He boarded a high-speed shuttle bound for the Harmony station, his mind racing with plans and contingencies. Upon arrival, Billy was immediately thrust into a maelstrom of activity. Alien delegations were already beginning to arrive, the station's docking bays filled with a dizzying array of spacecraft from across the galaxy. As he made his way through the crowded corridors, Billy overheard snippets of conversation in a dozen different languages. Tensions were high, with historically antagonistic species eyeing each other warily. He spotted a group of Zarthak diplomats, their razor-sharp claws clicking nervously against their ceremonial armor, while a delegation of ethereal Quarians floated by, their translucent bodies rippling with unease. Billy's datapad buzzed constantly with updates and requests. He worked tirelessly, mediating disputes and smoothing ruffled feathers, sometimes literally, as he tried to build a coalition for the Galactic Gene Accord. In a quiet moment between meetings, Billy received a priority message from Yara. Her holographic image appeared before him, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Billy, we've got a new situation here," Yara said, her voice low. "The hybrid children, They're developing their own culture, their own way of thinking. It's beautiful, but it's causing friction with traditional Norcadian society. I'm doing my best to mediate, but it's challenging. Billy nodded, understanding the complexities of the situation. We'll figure it out together, Yara. Right now, we need to focus on making this summit a success. The future of galactic cooperation depends on it. As they discussed strategies, an alert flashed on Billy's datapad, an urgent message from an unknown source, tagged with the highest priority encryption. Billy's brow furrowed as he decoded the message, his eyes widening as he read its contents. Yara, he said, his voice tight with tension, we've got a new player in the game, a Rizian defector named Czar. They claim to have crucial information about the true motives behind the Rizian attacks. Yara leaned closer to the holographic display, her expression intense. What do they say? Billy took a deep breath, the weight of this new information settling heavily on his shoulders. According to Czar, the Rizians aren't just after conquest. They're trying to prevent the spread of human genetic material throughout the galaxy. They fear that human adaptability, when combined with other species, could lead to beings capable of challenging Rizian dominance. Yara's eyes widened, the implications of this revelation sinking in. That changes everything, Billy, the galactic gene accord. We need to rethink our approach. Billy nodded, his mind already racing with new possibilities and potential pitfalls. You're right, we need to address not just the benefits of interspecies genetic exchange, but also the responsibilities and risks that come with it. As they discussed this new development, alarms blared throughout the station. Billy's datapad lit up with urgent alerts, and Yara's hologram flickered as she received similar warnings. We're under attack, Yara shouted, her image distorting. Both here and at the station. It's a coordinated strike. Billy rushed to the station's command center, his heart pounding. On the main view screen, he saw a terrifying sight, a combined force of Rizian warships and unmarked vessels bearing down on the Harmony station. Simultaneously, reports flooded in of a massive assault on the Norcadian homeworld. As chaos erupted around him, Billy realized that the summit, and perhaps the future of galactic cooperation itself, now hung in the balance. The next few hours would determine whether they could forge a new era of interspecies harmony or be plunged into a devastating conflict that could tear the galaxy apart. The coordinated attack on both the Harmony station and the Norcadian homeworld sent shockwaves through the assembled delegates. Alarms blared as the combined Rizian fleet bore down on the station, their weapons primed and ready. Billy sprinted through the chaotic corridors, his datapad clutched tightly in his hand. He burst into the main conference hall, where panicked representatives from dozens of species huddled in fear. Everyone, please, Billy shouted, his voice cutting through the cacophony. We need to act now. This attack proves what we've all suspected. The threats we face are greater than any one species can handle alone. The Krellian ambassador, a towering figure with iridescent scales, stepped forward. What do you propose, human? Our ships are scattered, our defenses unprepared. Billy's mind raced, weighing options and potential outcomes. An emergency session, he declared. Right here, right now. We draft a comprehensive interspecies defense treaty. It's our only chance. As the delegates grudgingly took their seats, the station shuddered under the first volley of Rizian fire. Billy activated the holographic displays, showing real-time updates from both the station and Norcadia. We don't have time for posturing or old grudges, Billy said, his eyes scanning the room. Every second we waste brings us closer to defeat. The discussions began in earnest, but tensions quickly flared. The Krellian ambassador smacked his fist on the table, glaring at the Volturi delegation. You hoard your energy weapon technology while our worlds burn. How can we trust you as allies? Billy stepped between them, hands raised. This is exactly what the Rizians want, for us to fight among ourselves. Ambassador, the Krellians' shielding technology is unparalleled. Volturi, your weapons could turn the tide of this battle. What if we implemented a technology exchange program as part of this treaty? The idea sparked intense debate, but as the station rocked with another hit, the delegates began to see the wisdom in cooperation. Billy coordinated with the station's defense systems, buying them precious time as they hammered out the details. Meanwhile, on Norcadia, Yara led a team through the ruins of a major algae production facility. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of damaged machinery. As they assessed the destruction, one of the hybrid children accompanying them suddenly stopped. "Yara, look!" the child exclaimed, pointing to a patch of algae that had survived the attack. The child knelt beside it, placing a hand on the slimy surface. To Yara's amazement, the algae began to pulse with a soft, bioluminescent glow. "I can hear it," the child said, eyes wide with wonder. "The algae, it's speaking to me." Yara watched in awe as the hybrid child communicated with the algae on a cellular level, coaxing it to grow and multiply at an unprecedented rate. Within minutes, the small patch had expanded to cover several square meters. "This is incredible," Yara breathed, her mind racing with the implications. "With your abilities, we could restore our water supply in a fraction of the time we thought possible." As Yara relayed this breakthrough to Billy, the news spread quickly through the Harmony station. The assembled delegates buzzed with excitement and apprehension. "We must have access to these hybrid children," the Zarthak ambassador demanded, his claws clicking against the conference table. "Our world suffers from severe water shortages. This technology could save millions of lives." Billy raised his hands, calling for calm. "We can't treat the hybrid children as commodities to be traded or exploited. They're sentient beings with rights of their own." He paced the length of the conference room, his mind working furiously. "We need to establish clear guidelines for interspecies reproduction and genetic experimentation. It's not just about the potential benefits. We have to consider the ethical implications as well." As Billy worked to incorporate these new considerations into the Galactic Gene Accord, a commotion at the entrance to the conference hall caught his attention. Security officers escorted in a slender, gray-skinned figure with large dark eyes. Zar, the Rizian defector. "I bring vital information," Zar announced, their voice a low, melodious hum. "The Rizian attack force approaching the station. I know their capabilities, their tactics. I can help you defend against them." The room erupted in a mixture of hope and suspicion. The Quarian delegate, their translucent body rippling with unease, voiced the concerns of many. "How do we know this isn't some elaborate Rizian trap?" Billy studied Zar intently, weighing the risk against the potential benefits of their intelligence. Before he could respond, his datapad chimed with an urgent message from Earth. His eyes widened as he read the report. The Purist movement had launched a series of devastating attacks on off-world communication facilities. The gathered delegates watched Billy closely, sensing the gravity of the situation. He took a deep breath, knowing the decision he was about to make would have far-reaching consequences. "I'm staying here," Billy announced, his voice firm. "Earth needs me, but right now, the entire galaxy needs this alliance. We have to trust each other if we're going to survive." He turned to address the suspicious delegates. "We'll use Zar's intelligence, but we'll verify everything. Our combined technologies and expertise give us an advantage the Rizians aren't expecting." As the summit raced to finalize the defense treaty in the Galactic Gene Accord, Billy's mind turned to the purest threat on Earth. An idea began to form, bold, potentially dangerous, but with the power to change hearts and minds. "We need to send a delegation to Earth," Billy said, his eyes scanning the room. "Not just any delegation, a group of hybrid children. Their abilities, their unique perspective, they could be the bridge we need between humanity and the rest of the galaxy." The proposal sent shockwaves through the assembly. As debates raged and plans were formulated, Billy's datapad lit up with an incoming transmission from Yara. Her holographic image appeared before him, her face etched with concern and persistence. "Billy," she said, her voice tight with emotion, "the hybrid children here, they're demanding recognition as a distinct species, equal rights, representation in government. It's causing quite a stir." Billy nodded, unsurprised by this development. "We're facing similar issues here. The galaxy is changing faster than anyone anticipated. We need to adapt." As they discussed strategies for addressing these new challenges, alarms blared throughout the station. On the main view screen, a massive Rizian fleet appeared, weapons charged and closing fast. Billy's heart raced as he surveyed the assembled alien representatives. The fate of Earth, Norcadia, and countless other worlds now rested on their ability to set aside their differences and stand united against the coming storm. "This is it," Billy announced, his voice carrying across the tense silence of the conference hall. "Everything we've worked for comes down to this moment. Are we united, or do we fall divided?" Divided? The words hung in the air as the station shuddered under another barrage from the approaching Rizian fleet. Billy's eyes swept across the faces of the assembled delegates, a mix of fear and dedication etched on their alien features. "We have one chance," Billy declared, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "I'm initiating the final phase of our summit." He activated the main holographic display, revealing a complex diagram that merged the Galactic Gene Accord with a comprehensive mutual defense treaty. The delegates leaned forward, their attention captured by the intricate details of the plan. "This addresses both our immediate threat and our long-term cooperation," Billy explained, highlighting key points. "Regulated genetic exchange, technology sharing, and a united galactic defense force. It's our best hope for survival and prosperity." As murmurs of discussion rippled through the room, Zar stepped forward. The Rizian defector's large, dark eyes reflected the urgency of the moment. "I can provide crucial intelligence on the approaching fleet's weaknesses," Zar announced, their melodious voice cutting through the noise. "With this information, you can coordinate a preemptive strike." Billy nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "Ambassador Kraz, your shielding technology, combined with Volturi energy weapons, we can create an impenetrable defense for the station." The Krellian ambassador's scales shimmered as he considered the proposal. "It's risky, but we're out of options. You have our support." As the station's engineering teams rushed to implement the new defenses, Billy's datapad lit up with a transmission from Norcadia. Yara's holographic image appeared, her expression a mix of excitement and exhaustion. "Billy, the new algae strains, they're working beyond our wildest expectations," she reported. "The hybrid children's abilities have accelerated growth and purification. We're restoring our water supply at an incredible rate." Pride swelled in Billy's chest. "That's fantastic news, Yara. It'll strengthen your position for the planetary referendum on hybrid rights." Their conversation was cut short as alarms blared throughout the station. On the main view screen, the Rizian fleet entered the system, their ships sleek and menacing against the backdrop of space. "This is it," Billy announced, his voice carrying across the now silent conference hall. "All ships, prepare to engage. Remember, we're stronger together than we ever were apart." The battle erupted in a dazzling display of energy weapons and shield impacts. Billy coordinated the diverse alien fleets, drawing on his experience with Norcadian technology to bridge communication gaps and maximize their effectiveness. The Rizians employed advanced cloaking technology, their ships shimmering in and out of view as they launched devastating attacks. But the united front of the allied species held firm. Krellian shields absorbed impossible amounts of damage, while Volturi weapons punched through Rizian defenses with surgical precision. After hours of intense combat, the tide began to turn. The Rizian fleet, faced with unexpected resistance and suffering heavy losses, began to retreat. A cheer went up from the command center as the last enemy ship disappeared into hyperspace. In the aftermath of the battle, the summit reconvened. The mood was electric, with delegates from even the most hesitant species now eager to sign the Galactic Gene Accord and Defense Treaty. "What we've accomplished here today will echo through the ages," Billy said, looking out at the assembled representatives. "We've laid the foundation for a new era of cooperation and understanding." As the final signatures were added to the historic document, Billy received another transmission from Earth. His expression darkened as he listened to the report. "The purists have seized control of several major cities," he informed the gathered delegates. "They're threatening to use weapons of mass destruction if Earth moves forward with galactic integration." The newly formed Galactic Council erupted into heated debate over how to respond. Billy raised his hands, calling for calm. "Yara and I will lead a diplomatic mission to Earth," he announced. "We'll assemble a team of human-alien hybrids to showcase the benefits of our cooperation." As preparations for the mission began, intelligence reports flooded in, suggesting that the purists had acquired advanced alien technology. The situation on Earth was deteriorating rapidly, with global communication networks disrupted and chaos spreading across continents. Billy and Yara stood on the observation deck of their ship, watching as Earth grew larger in the view screen. The beautiful blue marble was marred by angry red hotspots where conflict raged. "This isn't just a diplomatic mission anymore," Yara said softly, her hand intertwining with Billy's. "We're walking into a war zone." Billy nodded, his teeth clenched. "Whatever happens down there, we face it together. For Earth, for Norcadia, for the entire galaxy." As they prepared for atmospheric entry, long-range scans detected unusual energy signatures around major Purist strongholds. The hybrid children on board, their unique abilities now fully awakened, sensed a foreboding presence on the planet below. "There's something down there," one of the children whispered, her eyes wide with fear and wonder. "Something not human." Billy and Yara exchanged glances, the weight of their responsibility settling heavily on their shoulders. As the ship began its descent, they knew that the next few hours would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of the entire galactic alliance. The ship shuddered as it entered Earth's atmosphere, the fiery glow of re-entry illuminating the tense faces of the crew. Billy gripped the command console, his mind racing with possibilities and potential strategies. Whatever awaited them on the surface, they had to be ready for anything. Anything. The ship's hull groaned as it plunged through layers of atmosphere, buffeted by turbulent winds. "Brace for impact!" Billy shouted as the ground rushed up to meet them. The landing was rough, but the ship's advanced stabilizers prevented disaster. As the dust settled, Billy and Yara peered out the viewports at a landscape in turmoil. Pillars of smoke rose from the ruins of once proud cities. In the distance, shimmering domes of energy encased Purist strongholds, their alien origin unmistakable. Yara's grip tightened on Billy's hand as they took in the extent of the devastation. "We need to move fast," Billy said, activating the ship's cloaking device. "Every second counts." Under cover of darkness, they guided their vessel to a hidden military base outside Washington, D.C. As they touched down, figures emerged from concealed bunkers, loyal government officials and military leaders who had resisted the Purist takeover. General Hawthorne, a grizzled veteran with steely eyes, greeted them. "Welcome to what's left of the resistance," he said grimly. "We're outgunned and outnumbered. Those energy shields are impenetrable to any weapon we have." Billy's mind raced, formulating a plan. He turned to the group of human-alien hybrids who had accompanied them. "That's where you come in," he said. "Your unique abilities are our best chance at infiltrating those strongholds and disabling the alien tech from within." The hybrids nodded, their eyes glowing with a mix of dedication and otherworldly power. Billy outlined his strategy to the assembled group, pointing out key locations on a holographic map of the city. "Yara," he said, turning to his partner, "your enhanced Norcadian physiology makes you the ideal candidate to lead the assault on the main Purist headquarters. We'll coordinate from here, providing support and distraction where needed." As the teams prepared for their missions, Billy pulled Yara aside. "Be careful out there," he said softly, his voice tight with concern. Yara's skin shimmered with a faint blue glow, a sign of her heightened Norcadian senses. "I will," she promised. "We've come too far to fail now." Under the cover of night, Yara led her team through the war-torn streets of Washington, D.C. They moved like shadows, their hybrid abilities allowing them to slip past Purist patrols undetected. As they approached the first energy shield, one of the hybrids, a young woman named Lyra, placed her hand against the shimmering barrier. "I can feel the energy patterns," Lyra whispered, her eyes closed in concentration. "Give me a moment." The air crackled with unseen power as Lyra's unique abilities interfaced with the alien technology. Suddenly, a small opening appeared in the shield. "Hurry!" Lyra hissed. "I can't hold it for long." Yara and her team slipped through the gap, finding themselves inside the Purist stronghold. Alarms blared as they fought their way to the shield generator. In a fierce firefight, they overcame the guards and disabled the alien tech. Across the city, similar scenes played out as other hybrid teams infiltrated Purist-controlled areas. One by one, the energy shields fell, leaving the strongholds vulnerable. Back at the hidden base, Billy coordinated the operation, his fingers flying over holographic displays as he directed resources and provided real-time intelligence. "Yara," he said into his comm unit, "the main purist headquarters is exposed. It's time for the final push." Yara acknowledged, leading her team through the chaos of a city at war. They fought their way into the heart of the Purist Command Center, where they found themselves face-to-face with the movement's leader, a charismatic but fanatical man named Drexler. "You're too late," Drexler snarled, brandishing an alien weapon. "Humanity has made its choice. We won't be corrupted by your so-called gifts." Yara stood her ground, her Norcadian-enhanced reflexes ready for any sudden moves. "You're wrong," she said calmly, reaching into a pouch at her belt. "We're here to save humanity, not corrupt it." She produced a small vial filled with shimmering liquid, the specialized algae developed on Norcadia. With a practiced motion, Yara poured the contents into a nearby container of murky water. Before Drexler's astonished eyes, the contaminated liquid cleared, becoming crystal pure in seconds. "This is what alien cooperation can do," Yara explained, her voice steady. "We can solve Earth's water crisis overnight, and that's just the beginning." Confusion rippled through the ranks of purist soldiers. Some lowered their weapons, struggling to reconcile their beliefs with the evidence before them. Seizing the moment of uncertainty, Billy's voice rang out over the global communication network. Screens throughout the purist headquarters and across the world flickered to life, showing images of the human-alien hybrids working alongside loyal Earth forces to restore order and provide aid to civilians. "People of Earth," Billy's voice resonated, "what you're seeing is the future, a future of cooperation, of shared knowledge and resources. We stand on the brink of a new era for humanity. The choice is yours." As dawn broke over Washington, D.C., the purist movement began to crumble. Drexler, seeing his support evaporate, threw down his weapon in defeat. Yara personally secured him, ensuring he would face justice for his actions. Outside, crowds gathered in the streets, a mix of wonder and hope on their faces as they watched human and hybrid alike working to rebuild. The crisis had been averted, but the work of healing, both physical and social, was just beginning. In the coming days, Earth's governments convened emergency sessions to discuss the planet's future. The evidence of alien benefits was undeniable, and public opinion had shifted dramatically. In a historic vote, Earth unanimously decided to join the Galactic Alliance. As Billy and Yara stood before the newly formed Earth Council, ratifying the Galactic Gene Accord, they knew their work was not nearly finished. The implementation of algae technology to solve global water scarcity was just the first step in a long journey of integration and cooperation. Months passed and Earth began to change. The first off-world colonies were established, and humanity took its place among the stars. One evening, Billy and Yara found themselves on the observation deck of Harmony Station, gazing down at the blue marble of Earth. Yara turned to Billy, a smile playing on her lips. "I have something to tell you," she said, taking his hand and placing it gently on her abdomen. Billy's eyes widened as he realized the implications. We're," he stammered. Overcome with emotion, Yara nodded, her skin shimmering with joy. "The first natural human Norcadian conception," she confirmed. As they embraced reveling in this new miracle, a group of alien representatives approached. The diverse gathering offered their congratulations, eager to discuss the implications of this unprecedented event. Billy and Yara listened to their excited chatter, their hands still intertwined. They knew that their child would be born into a universe of incredible possibilities, a living symbol of the new era they had helped create. As the group moved to the ship's conference room to discuss the future, Billy's mind drifted back to that first fateful encounter on Norcadia. From a simple act of compassion on a drought-stricken world to this moment, standing at the helm of a new galactic order, the journey had been extraordinary. But as he looked at Yara, her skin glowing with that unique iridescent blue, Billy knew that the greatest adventure still lay ahead. Together, they would...
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.